Hey there, brother and sister. Vessel Truth here, Jay from Virginia for the new people. Today I want to do a video, of course, adding on to my last video. I'm going to probably do a couple of videos on this, and they're going to be called Equipping the Saints. Really all it takes is going around talking to people, and you'll come to the conclusion that most people don't have a clue what the battlefield is, how the enemy attacks you, or even who and what they are as a child of Yahuwah and what they have at their disposal. So that all leads to, basically miserable people. And, that's what the four-wall indoctrination centers have capitalized on. The view and feeling of escapism. I just want to fly out of here at the rapture. He's going to come anytime. And sadly, that is just unbiblical. It is not the way the Father does things. And it has been detrimental to many, many people. I mean, hundreds, thousands, if not more, as the years have went by. So the Father has really impressed me to do a series, of, basically saying things that people should know, but nobody is talking about it. And yet, when you bring it up to someone, they automatically have that attitude like, oh yeah, I knew that. But the fact is, they hadn't a clue. And, that's pride. Yeah, I have been studying for a long time, but I'll be the first to tell you that everything that I know, however much or however little that is nothing more than a drop in the bucket. I'm positive, that there's other people out there that probably that definitely know way more than I do, especially in certain subjects. Because, the Father gives each and every one of His children different strong areas. My biggest strong area is prophecy, last days events. But yeah, He's given me a very firm foundation of a total overview of things, especially with Torah and His laws and His ways and His character and His statutes. Because if you don't have that firm foundation, there's nothing to build on. We all just have to be humble. The Father told us in His Word that He will teach the humble His ways. But the prideful and arrogant, they lead themselves into destruction. So, building on my last video, I want to talk about some things that, people do or are subject to, whether it be innocently or, otherwise, that open us up to demonic oppression. It's bad for our spiritual health. And with some people, even possession. This is something that, the four-wall indoctrination centers will not touch with a 10-foot pole because they don't want to scare people or push people away or turn them off. And this is all stuff that those who were alive and when Christ walked this earth, they knew this stuff. They knew spirits were transferable, that if you dabbled in this or that or whatever, it would open you up to, demonic oppression or possession or, tyranny or terrorism, all different forms of, ungodly things that would, all in all, make your life harder. So, without delay, let's get into it. And these are basically just things that I have, on a piece of paper, I just kind of started jotting stuff down as, the Spirit brought into remembrance. And, by far, this is not an exhaustive list. Actually, it's probably not even a drop in the bucket of the things that we can do that will actually bring harm to ourselves spiritually. So, let's see what we got here. Negative emotions, poor self-image, destructive thought forms like being a hypochondriac or psychoanalyzing things all the time. Those who don't know what psychoanalyzing people, it's like someone that they're just totally unsure of themselves or situations, so they look at things in 490 different directions and then some more, because that they're afraid they might get it wrong. Negative emotions should go without saying. Anger. We all know what happens when anger gets out of hand. Love, on the bad side, it turns into lust, and we all know that where that leads, fornication. A lot of this stuff should be common sense, but I've kind of learned that a lot of common sense got lost somewhere, and I don't know why, but it's the truth. So if all this kind of seems beginner level, it kind of is, but yet it's also a refresher, and it's good for us all to freshen up and to remember things fresh and anew, even to help give us a new perspective on things. Hypochondriac. We all know someone that's a hypochondriac. And, on the surface, it doesn't sound too bad, but, there are other things besides just being a hypochondriac. There are those who are arachnophobic. That can even be, something that the enemy could use against you. Basically, anything that has fear related to it is an open door for the enemy to attack you or to oppress you or to demonize you in any way. And, as you'll see later on, the enemy really doesn't play by any rules other than that which the Father has dictated, that he lets us know what he's doing. So you'll see that, some things that the enemy does really should anger you. Number 2, unresolved emotional or psychological conflicts, destructive relationships. This is a huge one. You'll notice how a lot of these can play off of one another. Like, for instance, destructive relationships. In that destructive relationships, it can cause negative emotions, poor self-image due to, what other people are saying and their angry fits or whatever. And, people, harbor these things. And of course, as you're harboring these things, what does the enemy do? He comes and he builds upon that false lie of a foundation that you have allowed him to build upon. See, we have to know who we are in Yeshua. All of our old things have passed away. Everything is new. You might still have memories of back then, but that's all they are. It's done and it's over. It's forgiven. None of it has any power over you. And, unresolved emotional, psychological conflicts. A lot of that, I would say, comes from those who were abused when they were a child, or seen things that they should have never seen when they were a child. And for instance, being real young, even 2, 3, 4 years old, and seeing your parents murdered before you. Subconsciously, yeah, you may have blocked it out, but it's there. And left undealt with, the enemy can use that against you. Because those feelings, those emotions poison you until they are dealt with or forgiven or let go of. It doesn't even sound fair, but, the way the Father works is very legalistic. It's just almost like a courtroom setting. Number 3 should be a no-brainer. Pharmaceuticals, drugs, alcohol, addiction, and consuming recreational drug substances. Basically anything that is mind-altering. This goes for meditation, yoga. I don't even know, and they sold it to the Americans really well, but this garbage, yoga and mentalism and meditation, all this stuff, it has its roots in paganism. This is stuff that were done to other little G's, and been brought over into our culture, and some person that thought they were really smart and doing a good thing kind of Christianized it and made it out to be a great thing, and it caught on like wildfire. And it just goes to show you that even innocence of ignorance can cause you great harm. It's like, a child who doesn't know when you turn the stove eye off, it stays hot. And doesn't know that it's going to hurt them. So they touch it. And what happens? They get burned. It was all in innocence because they didn't know. But still, the fact remains, they got burnt. And the enemy does it to us left and right. That's why, the Father told us, be not ignorant of your enemy's devices. By no means are we supposed to, study him, but we have to know how he operates. We know for a fact that his whole kingdom is set up exact opposite of the Father's kingdom. there are ranks. Same way with the Father. Let's keep going. Surgery, hospitalization, and cutting into the body. Wow. I struggled with putting this one on here because this is an area that really angers a lot of people. Whenever you go in for surgery, I'm talking, major stuff, and they put you under using pharmaceuticals, sorcery, according to the Bible, the word of Yahuwah, allows the enemy to attack you. And you're not even in your mind to know what's going on. It's not fair, but it's allowed. Because, hey, we're not supposed to be messing with sorcery anyway. Now, something that's a big thing here that no one talks about. The medical field. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, that's great, that's wonderful. All these pills and all that stuff, I don't care what it's for. High blood pressure or insulin and whatever. It keeps you alive. I'm sorry. I will go with the word of Yahuwah over any pill or drug. The Father said sorceries are wrong. And I believe it because it causes more problems than it solves. You take one pill to fix this situation, but this pill causes 20 other problems. It's not a cure. It's just something that makes you a customer to keep coming back. It's like the woman with the issue of blood. There is a story there that we should pay attention to. It says this woman had tried all the doctors, spending everything that she had to be cured, and was yet sick. How many people do you know spending everything that they have? They're being bled dry by this so-called medical system. We have the word that shows that the Father kept everyone healthy. 40 years wandering in the middle of the wilderness. So much so that their shoes and clothes never wore out. Nor was anyone ever having health problems. Those times haven't changed because the Father has not changed. A biggie on the medical institute. Those who go in for heart transplants or this transplant or that transplant. The life is in the blood. When an organ from this person over here is put into this person over there, there's something of that other person going into that other person. It should not be. And there are stories out there that prove this. Spirits are transferable. You have all these disembodied spirits of the Nephilim that are roaming this earth looking for a body. And they have bodies. We have clones. It's a whole nother subject, but they exist. The medical industry is not to help us. It's just not. And I'm sorry, there's going to be all kinds of people out there sending me emails saying, well, God gave us the knowledge to do it. Sorry, you're wrong. The word in the book of Enoch says that the fallen angels that came down on Mount Hermon, they were the ones who taught mankind all the forbidden knowledge that we were never supposed to know about. They even taught man how to do DNA manipulation and the murdering of the embryo, abortion. This whole medical institution is built on the agenda of the enemy. I don't care what you say. So if you got nasty things to say them to yourself. I do know the truth. If you question this, pray to the Father. And you're going to say, well, the Father's used the hands of doctors to heal people. Yes, he has. He is the Father. But the premise of the truth is the whole premise of this medical institution shouldn't have never been. We have the great physician. Ask and he shall give. He says, we have not because we ask not. And when we do ask, we ask amiss. He sent his word and he healed our every disease. What does it say about Christ? He was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. And by his stripes, we were what? Healed. It's a done deal. It's already been paid for. So why not receive it? Most people don't think that way, though. They get a headache, they go to the cabinet for an aspirin. Because we have been indoctrinated that way. See what I'm saying, my brothers and sisters? It's way past time that someone kick each other in the butt and wake them up. Why are there so many sick and dead around amongst us? Because we don't do what the Father says. Oh, we claim to be his children because we believe, but we don't do nothing. The whole time, the word says, be ye doers of the word, not hearers only. Oh, but the law passed away. No, it didn't. Matthew chapter 23, Christ said, and quote, to the disciples and the masses that were listening, listen to the Sadducees and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. They are the teachers of the law. Listen to all that they teach and observe it. And then he goes on to say, but don't do as they do, because they don't practice what they preach. The law was never passed away. The law will never pass away. Till heaven and earth passes away, not a jot or a tittle shall fall from the law. And heaven and earth are still here. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters, but I know people who have been destroyed this way. I've known perfectly healthy people. Went to the doctor one day and heard that they had cancer. The big C. And it was like just the very mention of hearing that they had cancer. They believed it hook, line, sinker, and in a few weeks they were dead. Why? It's funny that cancer and all these ailments never existed years ago. And it's funny. You can look this up, my brothers and sisters. Go to your favorite little search engine and look up the patents. They've had the patent for the cure for cancer and all kinds of other diseases for many, many, many years. But yet, we sure have marathons and pledge-a-thons and all this other stuff to raise billions of dollars every year for the cure of cancer, or breast cancer, or cervical cancer, or skin cancer, or whatever. And I'm not making light. All sickness and disease is a spirit of infirmity. And it's sad that we, the children of Yahuwah, are so weak and pathetic? Because we have forgotten who we are. We are children of the Most High, saved by the blood of Yeshua. Everything must bow at the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah. That means cancer, brain cancer, blood cancer, bone cancer, lymphoma, breast cancer, cervical cancer. Doesn't matter. It all has to bow at the name of Yeshua. It's far past time we start using it. Or just be sick. It's up to you. Let's keep going. Exposure to low EMF fields generated from technology, cell phones, computers, TVs, cell phones, antennae. This one you should know. Especially with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5G thing going on. See how I did that? This is one thing I think everybody who claims to be in the truth community actually knows something of. But frequencies are far more than what people think. You figure, think of it this way. Our Father, Yahuwah, back at the beginning of everything, spoke. And we know that sound are sound waves. So there's frequencies to that. So when he spoke, those frequencies of whatever created what is. Frequencies are a very interesting subject. There's even videos where they pass certain sound waves through water and it forms a bright light in the middle like a star. They're fascinating. All these things can be used by the enemy. Think about it. What does it say? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and rulers in high places. He is the prince of the power of the air. He says he saw Satan fall like lightning. Yes. Why is it, that all of our electrical diagrams look like sigils? It's because they are. See what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? We have been lied to on such a grand scale that most people will probably never know how bad they have been lied to. There are people right now that believe stuff to be the gospel truth, and it is a bold-faced lie. And that goes for things of Yahuwah. Things that people think are biblical truths, and they're just outright lies. Because it's man's doctrine, it's man's opinion, and someone built a huge study on it and made it part of the whole Christian community. Like the pre-tribulation rapture theory, the mid-tribulation rapture, the post-tribulation rapture. But yet, I covered that in another video. Let's continue to move on. Accidents, events that cause physical stress, shocks, or emotional traumatic experiences. All right, this one, there's a lot that can go into this one. Man and a wife is together going on their honeymoon, and as they're going on their honeymoon, they're hit by a Mack truck. kills his new wife deader than 4 o'clock. He lives. And the rest of his life, he's traumatized because he blames himself for what happened. He should have seen the truck. He this, whatever. Doesn't matter that, the truck driver was drunk, high on drugs or whatever, running from the police, whatever. It was an accident. But yet, this experience has left such an impression on him that now the enemy is using it to destroy his life, to drive him to addictions, or from relationship to relationship to relationship, because he's no longer able to commit to no one because of what he did. See what I'm saying, brothers and sisters? The enemy, for lack of a better way of saying it, is a scumbag. There's no common decency about him at all. There's no line that he will not cross. There's nothing that he won't corrupt to destroy you and me. He hates us. He wants each and every one of us dead. He is jealous of us because we were made in the image and likeness of Yahuwah, the Creator, and made above Him. And that hate drives him to invent all kinds of ways to destroy us. His evil has no bounds. Right now, brothers and sisters, he is being restrained. The evil that he is allowed to put forth is being restrained. But the day is coming that the restrainer will be moved out of the way. And you will see evil beget more evil, begetting more evil on such a grand scale that I don't think it's humanly possible to comprehend it. If that doesn't motivate you to want to be part of the Church of Philadelphia, I don't know what would be a motivation for you. Let's keep going. International air travel. Traveling to areas of the earth with different grid systems and hemispheres. Okay, let me explain, because I know everybody went, huh? I rode on an airplane. Okay. This one is something that most people do not know. Out of the different quadrants of the earth, because we know through the word that the earth is laid out into different quadrants. So, there are powers and principalities and rulers over certain areas. How do you know which power and principality is over? Look to see what's going on in your area. But the thing about going to other countries, there are more historical, old demons that, run back way then. And, they're still looking for bodies to inhabit. And we, as ignorant Americans, just wanting to go sightseeing and look at stuff, we have a tendency to, oh wow, check this out. That looks real neat, and buy it. And come to find out, it was some idol that used to be used in ritual magic. And now you're taking home a bunch of demons with you. Or you're open up to, mythology. I'll get to that later in a bigger discussion, but these territorial powers and principalities, we have to watch how we conduct ourselves in other countries, because these powers and principalities are always looking to attach and be moved from one place to another through legal right. Because if they attach to someone and that someone actually lives in another area, they can legally go from their place to another. I hope this makes sense. I don't want to get too deep into it because it would take forever and a day to explain, to set the rest of the groundwork. I want to give you enough to where you can actually go and research it yourselves and learn, because that's the way you're going to learn the best, is actually seeing the information yourself. And that's what I want and hope to drive you to. So enough with that one. Next, extreme grief, depression, guilt, shame, and loneliness. I wanted to just call it emotionalism. But most people think emotionalism is just like boo-hoo, boo-hoo, crying. But no. All the different aspects of high feelings are all areas that the enemy looks to exploit and use against us. Depression, grief, the loss of loved ones, guilt, like the guilt over your past. Everybody should know that one really good, because he uses guilt to make you think that you'd never be someone that the Father would forgive for what you did. And, that's just not true. Loneliness. Okay, how do I say this without offending people? I actually know a few people that are single. And because the world is the way that it is, they think that there's something wrong with them because they don't have a mate. And because of this, they have become extremely desperate, to where the smell of desperation is thick. And they are open to anything and everything, as long as someone of the opposite sex will just pay them some attention. And of course, there is a huge door for the enemy to run through, because he will definitely send you someone. And that someone you better run from. Yes, I dare say that the Father knows everything when he created everything. And for those that he knows needs mates, there is a mate out there for him. But I also know there are people that are born that will never be married because they are eunuchs unto the Father. They have forsaken the, how would you put it, the companionship of the opposite sex for the companionship of the Father. In other words, they gave themselves wholly to the Father. They eat, sleep, breathe nothing but the Father. This is what Paul was talking about, in his lesson when he was talking about marriage and so on. That, those who have that lustful eye, that it was better to marry than to burn. But there are some, that are never going to be married, and those who are eunuchs unto the Father. There's nothing wrong with being alone. I know some married people that would die for it. There is perks to being alone, but there's also perks to being with someone. But I'm here to tell you, if a man and a woman are unequally yoked, whether it be the man is a servant of the Father and the woman's not, or the woman is and the man's not, that is a very hard relationship. Relationships are hard anyway because it's hard to find anyone that's going to work together with someone for the common good. Usually one or the other gets manipulative. And, you know, women, you know it. Whenever your man does something, maybe not you personally, but you know that women just cut men off with sex. Well, being married is the only legal way to have sex. And the Father dealt with this in the Word. He said that there will be due benevolence between the woman and the man. He said that the man owns the woman and the woman owns the man. I know I'm starting fights on that one. There's no such thing as, you know, because you're mad at your husband or whatever, that, you know, cut him off. Or the husband the same way. Due benevolence. The marriage bed is undefiled. You know, there should never be manipulation in a relationship. And this is a biggie. Women, the man is the head of that relationship. It doesn't matter if you think that he's dumb, you married him. Doesn't matter, you know, what you think. His decision making is not that bad. Hey, you married him. He is the head, and it was the Father that said so. Not me. I'm just a messenger. There is Christ, the head of the man, the head of the woman. I know this makes a lot of women mad, but, you know, go search your Bible and show me where women were in authority. The Father took authority away from the women because of the Garden of Eden. It's just the plain facts. Out of the whole biblical scriptures that we have, there are 2 women that were ever used. And that was just because they couldn't find any men. All the men were evil. I'm not saying that, you know, women can't, you know, work for the Lord and so on and so forth. I'm just telling you what the Word says. That a woman should never be in authority over a man. I know that ruffles the fur. Take it up with the Father in prayer and let Him show you His truth. Because He said it, He meant it, and He has His reasons. Let us keep going. Okay. Oh boy. I'm glutton for punishment here. I didn't know. I forgot I wrote this one down. Graveside visits to speak to past loved ones that passed on. Okay, brothers and sisters. I know it's been sold to us by society that it's just part of the bereavement process. It's just helping them get through. But there are people who go every certain time and certain days, 3, 4, 5 different times a week, visiting a past husband, a past son, daughter, dog, cat, goldfish, I'm not lying here, at the graveyard to go and have long conversations with them and so on and so forth. Don't do it. There's nobody there but familiar spirits. The enemy loves to play on the emotions of grieving, sad people. Again, notice it's emotions. It's a mental thing. That's why I said battleground is the mind mainly. And it's your emotions that bring out your actions mainly. There is nobody at that grave. That person gone. They are asleep in Sheol now until judgment. No, when we die, we're not automatically in the presence of the Lord. I know it. I've got people out there screaming at this, saying, to be absent from the body is a present with the Lord. No, go back and reread it. It does not say that. It says, I would rather be absent and to be present with the Lord. But I know I'm making people mad, but I'm telling you, I'm going to kick over every sacred cow out there, and I want people, my brothers and sisters, Yeshua's children, to be equipped to stand and fight against the enemy. We have made the enemy's job so easy. It's not even funny. You know, you go and you talk to someone who claims to be such a great, wonderful child of Yahuwah, and they're miserable. Why? Because what they're believing isn't the truth. They're not walking in obedience. They've got a curse on them because they're not walking in obedience. That's what people don't understand. If you don't obey, you're cursed. Go back and read Deuteronomy chapter 28. You'll find out that the blessings are really short, but the list of curses goes on for a while. You know, it tells you, I set before you blessing and cursing. Blessings if you obey, curses if you don't. Choose you blessing. But yet, people think that they've chose the blessing when they, I believe. No. We have to do more than just believe. Faith without works is dead. Let's keep going. Deep, unhealthy study and fascination of mythology or mythological creatures. And the same applies to astrology. This should be a no-brainer. We have been lied to about what is called mythology. All those who've been watching me for a while, I pray and hope that you know that in Genesis chapter 6, there was an event that happened that is totally cleared up in the book of Enoch. It is where the 200 Watcher class angels come down at Mount Hermon, and they mated with the daughters of men and had offspring. Those offspring became giants. The first batch of offspring were known as the Titans. They were huge. Well, these Titans were named, Zeus, Apollo, all these huge mythological creature names, that still known to this day. That is where mythology comes from. It's based in truth. They actually lived. The offspring of angel and mortal woman created giants. And yes, they were huge. Going by the measurements given, some, I'm not even talking about the Titans, but afterwards, the Aconites, some up to 430 feet tall. Taller than the cedars of Lebanon. That's huge. And, we'll see them again. That's why the word tells us that men's hearts will fail them for seeing what comes up on the earth. Studying these things, in fascination, people begin to almost worship them. And the enemy entices you. And they even become almost idols. I know a few people that I've actually told them, man, you need to check yourself. Because, yeah, they knew a lot about it. And they come at it, from the biblical point. But they were getting so carried away that it was just unhealthy. There was more about this stuff and them and what they could do and so on and so forth, what they knew, than the things of the Father. It was, everything about this stuff, but totally forgot about the Father. But yet in his mind, he thinks he's serving the Father because, he's learning all this good stuff. No. Nothing takes the place of the Father. He comes first, always. All right. Next one I put on here because I wanted people to know that there's nothing that the enemy will not use or try to draw you away. And this, I know these things people know. I know one of the games that I mentioned, I don't even know if they even do that, because kids nowadays aren't like kids in my generation. We used to go outside and play, and we used our imagination, and children and the imagination was a bad thing to a point if you weren't brought up in the nurture and admiration of the Father. And this is why. Playing childhood games. The game I mentioned, everybody knows Dungeons and Dragons. It used to be played outside on paper and so on and so forth. And of course, you would use sorcery and magic and cast spells and actually do rituals and so on and so forth. And the other one, which most people would say, is just so innocent. But you can look it up for yourself. There are testimonies of people that were possessed because of playing this game as an innocent child that knew no better. The name of the game was Light as a Feather. And, I'm not even going to get into how it's done or whatever, because I don't want a part of it. I know the game, and yeah, I may have done it before. My main point is, even the things that most would say is just so innocent may not be so innocent when the enemy is involved. We have to be on guard at all times, in all things, no matter what it is. That's why, the word says, be on guard for your adversary. What? How does it go? Roams around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour? All the enemy wants is us dead, or deceived, thinking that we're still on the right track, which he has done with this four-wall indoctrination center that is now known as American Christianity, sending people to hell year after year because it's built on lies and half-truths. And these fat cat preacher teachers, paid by the Catholic Church, part of secret societies, and they're not what they seem. You figure the word tells us that even Satan can be transformed into an angel of light. If you do not have discernment of spirits, pray for it. Get it. When you go and you talk to people, look at them in the eyes. Pay attention to the eyes. The eyes are the window of the soul. And you will know. Spirits bear witness. There are people that don't want me around because I aggravate their demons. And they like their demons. And I'm not even scratching the surface here. Like the next one. We'll stop at this one. Practicing magic. We, for some reason, fall prey to, stupid tricks. Magic. Look at the secret society. One of the biggest. They study Solomon's magic. Goes all the way back to Solomon. Solomon was one of the biggest wizards ever. He was the smartest person ever. And he is a huge example to us. Yet, no one ever says it in the four-wall indoctrination centers. Here this man was so smart, but died stupid because he was drawn away in his old age and served other gods and died in idolatry. The smartest man ever. Let that sink in. It started so innocent. The father asked him, Solomon, I'll give you anything that you want. And Solomon said, I don't want anything but wisdom. I want to know how to walk and do. And that so impressed the father, which of course he knew all things anyway. He gave him the most wisdom that would ever be given to anyone. And also added to him riches and that. And you see, not too long after this was given to him, he immediately started doing sinful things. What do I mean? He started storing up gold, silver. Go back and read the story about the things that Solomon did. It's very interesting because everybody, talks about the mark of the beast, the number, that number. Guess what? If you go back and study Solomon, you'll find out that Solomon had a certain amount of gold that he got each period of time. I'll let you go back and look that up. But I'll give you a hint. It matches that number associated with the mark of the beast. See, that's the only two times that is actually mentioned in the Word. Is in the book of Revelation and back at the story of Solomon. And it's covered twice with Solomon. It's in Kings and Chronicles. There's a lot we can learn from Solomon. Biggest thing is what not to do. He was so smart, but yet, it's almost, how do you do that? It's just, I don't comprehend it. Those who I've talked to that know me, they know that there's only a few things that really baffle me. And, Solomon's one of them. How can you be so super smart and die so super stupid? And then the other thing, I'll name one more of the things that I find very interesting, because I don't really understand it, because I have never in my life ever had the problem. And I know that I'm nobody special. And that is, in the Old Testament, one of the biggest things, that they did is they would go and carve images out of wood and stone, and after they got done making it and all that, then they'd bow down and worship it. And I'm thinking, I ain't never even had the desire. That's stupid. Go and make something out of wood and stone and then call it my God and pray to it when I know I just made it. And it's like, were they that stupid back then, or are we missing something? And I dare say we're missing something, because I am a firm believer that the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, which used to inhabit their idols that they made, bring them to life. But yet, on the other hand, there is also a story about Abraham that kind of makes you think the other way too, that they knew that they were inanimate objects and had no life to themselves, because Abraham's father was an idol maker. And Abraham, we all know Abraham, Abram at that time, he went and took a big hammer and destroyed all the idols except for one, and put the hammer down at that idol and left it as it was. But lo and behold, his dad come mad at Abraham, wanting to know, why'd you destroy my idols? So, it makes you think. Just figure I'd throw that in there. Don't know why. Brothers and sisters, people think that we have come so far. Nah. You figure those people of old were 1,000 times smarter than we ever thought about being. And I do mean technological as well. See, we have been indoctrinated by these Hollywood movies of, the story of Moses, and, that shows them smacking rocks together to make fire, and, living like cavemen. No. The truth is, they had the technology, all the forbidden knowledge that was given to them by the 200 Watcher class angels. They were super smart. That's why I'm always telling people, don't be fooled by what you see, because that which you see may not even be real. People think I'm crazy because I know for a fact that we have clones and robotoids. Artificial intelligence is a thing. Force fields, cloaking technology, anti-gravitics. These all exist and have for a very long time. Our warfare technology. Those in the truth community know that lasers exist because of the DEW weapons, direct energy. They use them to start fires and so on and so forth. Use them for crowd control. They have other technology. They have plasma rifles. Just like what you see in the, futuristic sci-fi movies. These things really exist, brothers and sisters. Look up the patents. They've been there for a long time. Look at what they're doing with CERN. Geordie Rhodes, one of the makers of the quantum computers even tells you that the quantum computer opens up other dimensions. Basically, there's only another dimension, which is beyond the veil from our realm to the spiritual realm. And they are now bringing in entities he calls demons into our plane of existence, which they're already here. Just bringing in more other classes of demonic entities. Ciphers. There are Pleiades, Orion, there's Alukas, there are Phantoms, there are Lilith type demons, that are type of like succubus and incubus. All these are tools that the enemy uses to defeat, well, not defeat, but deceive us and draw us away from the truth. Knowledge is power. The elites know this, but they learned it through the word, because the enemy knows the word of Yahuwah. And the Father tells us in Hosea, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. See, if you're not reading the word, getting it in you, you're not going to have understanding or wisdom, because basically knowledge and understanding equals wisdom. You first have knowledge, and then you see how it connects and works, and you understand. And when you have both knowledge and understanding, you have wisdom. But for some reason, when it comes to reading the word, most people think that quantity of reading is what's important. It isn't. And those of you who have talked to me about this subject, you already know, so play along. Whenever a person comes to me and says, I read 15 books yesterday, my first question is, what did you learn? What did you put into practice? How did it change your life? And they look at you like, huh? They want like a gold star, like they do in school. I read 12 books. Oh, great, Johnny. I put your name on the fridge. No. I would rather a person read 12 verses and put those verses into practice, or allow those verses to change their actions or their ways or their thinking before moving on. That's what it means to study, to show yourself approved. We're not just reading the word to read it or know it. The reason we read and know it is because it changes us. It makes us more like Him. And that's what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Learning to love unconditionally. Learning to forgive. Harbor no malice against people, even when they have horribly done you wrong. How many of you, my brothers and sisters, could be lied on and have your character totally assassinated to the point where you were tied up and getting ready to be stoned and killed, and pray before everybody and cry out to the Father and say, Father, forgive them for what they do. For they know not what they're doing. I forgive them. Hold it not to their charge. I forgive them. Stephen did this. I wasn't talking about the Messiah. I was talking about someone other than the Messiah. Because I've already learned whenever you use the Messiah as an example, people automatically say, well, he's the Son of God. He could get that. Doesn't matter that the word says, all the works that I have done shall you do also, and greater works thereof, because I go to my Father. Signed, Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah. Wouldn't be much of an example for us if everything that he did we couldn't do, would he? You ever think about that? Why don't they tell you this in the four-wall indoctrination centers? They don't tell you because they don't want you to know. They don't want you empowered. But the Father wants you empowered. He wants you to know he's giving you everything you could ever need to stand against the enemy. Know who you are. All sickness and disease has to bow. Faith, that of a grain of mustard seed. You can speak to any mountain or any circumstances or whatever and tell it to be thou removed and cast into the sea, and it should be done. Childlike faith is all it takes, brothers and sisters. What is childlike faith? A child will believe anything that they're told when they're at a certain age. They get smarter as they grow up. Some of them do, anyway. You know, as adults, we say, you're so gullible. No, it's childlike faith. It's what we should have with the Father. I know the Father has a sense of humor because I know I have done some really boneheaded and stupid things, and I've heard him laugh. He has a sense of humor. He's not almighty Yahweh with a big, huge hammer just looking to smite the next one. No. People just don't understand the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament because they see the Father instructing the Israelites to kill total genocide people in the Old Testament. And so they think he was a homicidal maniac. He hated people. No. All the people that the Israelites were ever commanded to kill and totally wipe out were Nephilim. They were seed of the fallen angels, giants. They were an abomination. They were never to have been born. That's why you have evil spirits today. Because their spirit ain't going to heaven and it's not made for hell. So it wanders the earth looking for a body. Brothers and sisters, it's time to fight. It's time to stand and be self-sufficient. You know, the Father doesn't want a bunch of babies. And that's a fact. Yes, we can call on him in times of trouble and help, but we are to be doers. You know, the spirits are subject to the name. We are sons and daughters of the Most High now, through the blood of Yeshua. Start acting like it. We are not defeated, nor will we ever be defeated unless you allow it. It's your choice. I made up my choice. I ain't having anything that the enemy has for me. And when he tries to bring it, it's on. Because I know who I am. And I know the promises of Yahuwah. Yep, I will die one day if the Lord tarries, but I'll not die sick. You don't know. Yes, I do. Because the word of Yahuwah will not return void to me. Because I know it's the truth. It might be negotiable in your mind because you don't believe it the way I believe it. That's the problem nowadays. We don't believe the Father. Therefore, there are no great miracles, but yet I've seen them. The Father still heals. The Father still delivers. And the Father still casts out demons. Nothing to be afraid of. The day will come you will see it for yourself on one side or the other. Because the days are coming that people are going to see with their own eyes. And they already are in certain places. The Zephyrs are already attacking in open sight. Zephyrs is a demonic entity. Most people call them shadow figures. In broad daylight, they are attacking. Open war is what they want. And they are starting. See, they have been restrained for the longest time. But as time goes on, there's more and more of them and less of us. Brothers and sisters, now is the time. If ever you're going to be ready, it's now. With the help of the Father and by His precious Holy Spirit, I will do all that I can to give you the information, the knowledge to stand and be equipped. But it's you that has to activate what I tell you. It's your faith, not mine. It works for me because it's mine. But you have to have the faith without doubt. You have to get rid of all unbelief. No more doubting Thomases. No more wondering if He really will do it for me. It's time that you knew who you are in Christ. And stand. No more running. No more fear. And no more ignoring it. It's time we stand as men and women of Yahuwah and be His children in unity. Doesn't matter if we have some doctrinal disputes. As long as we know that there is but one way to the Father, that's all that matters. Everything else can be debated. Because the day will come, we will all know 100% what the truth is. But until then, we've got to come together. We've got to stand in love, without mocking. That's one thing I don't allow. Anyone around me that knows me personally, I don't care if we've been friends for a long time and I'm around and you make fun of somebody because they believe this, that, I'll never have a thing to do with you again. I don't do it. I don't allow it. I do not want people to sit in the seat of mockers because it stunts people's growth. It causes problems, and it's just a field day for the enemy. We're to build up, not rip down. Anybody can rip down. We either build up or we keep our mouth shut. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. You either speak life or shut up. That's it in a nutshell. That's why the Father says we will account for every idle word. Because every idle word, if the Father didn't cut off that part of the power, everything we speak would be creating things. Because we're made in His image and likeness. And now we have been endued with power through the Spirit. We have power in our words. As long as it's with the will of the Father and lines up with Scripture, it will come to pass. There's no questioning it. The only question is, do you really believe it? When you see someone and you know they got a demon, do you believe that that demon is subject to the power in you through the blood of Yeshua? I do, and I know it. Brothers and sisters, arise. There's not much more I can say on that. It's your decision. Just know to willfully refrain from being what we are to be is unbelief, fear. Bluntly, it's sin. And I don't think you want to be there. Stir yourself up on your most holy faith and be doers of the word, not hearers only. I thank you all for your prayers. I'm continuing to pray for each and every one of you and for the specific things of certain people as well. I thank each and every one of you for being a part. I ask you, don't let these lessons end with you. Put them into practice. Spread the truth of the Father. We have got to do as He says. We are the watchmen on the wall. We are our brother's keeper. And that is in short supply, and you know it. Step out. It might be a little interesting a few times, but when you see and know who you are, it's just like learning to ride a bike, walking as that child of the Father. It's one thing to know, but it's another to walk it. I encourage you, my brothers and sisters, start walking. Doesn't matter if you fall down. Get back up. Keep walking. You can do it. The Father knows you can do it. Do it. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, I love you. Yahuwah bless you and keep you always. And do your best to continue to share the truth. Until next time, my brothers, sisters, I love you.